Welcome to the Time to Fly podcast. It's time to give your business wings and take flight to achieve more impact, influence, and income with unique perspectives, tools, and tips from successful entrepreneurs and business professionals to help your business fly. Here to educate, encourage, and entertain you with their own unique perspectives and experience, plus sharing anecdotes of growing up as cowgirls. Here's your host, Jill Fleming.
Hello, and welcome to the Time to Fly podcast. I'm your host today, Jill Fleming, and today I am going to be interviewing my co-host, Nikole Haumont. So welcome to the show, and I wanted to welcome you, Nikole. Thanks for being here. I'm so glad we're on this journey together.
Thank you for having me today.
A little bit about Nikole. Nikole is an American businesswoman. She's a speaker and a consultant. She's also a devoted wife to Simon, a fanatical mom to her 6-year-old son, Lincoln, and a fur mom to Josie. Nikole is an advocate of utilizing LinkedIn as a strong business resource for client acquisition. She also teaches and speaks on implementing the LinkedIn platform as a vital part of staying connected to clients, former and current business associates, and developing new connections. As a founder of Standout Pro, Nikole helps attorneys, CPAs, and other business professionals leverage the LinkedIn platform for client acquisition. Nikole has also founded Shield Bar Marketing, a boutique marketing firm that helps service-based businesses create and maintain a consistent branded look across all assets. Her team provides logo design, website design, print media design, and social media management services. So that is just a little quick snippet about Nikole. She is that and so much more. She's also a dear friend of mine. We have been friends for over 20 or almost 20 years.
Almost 20.
That means that we're 2 years old. So just so you know.
Yes, we met when we were 2.
Yes. So Nikole, tell me a little bit about growing up on a ranch, rodeoing, all of the kind of the fun stuff you did growing up.
So I call Southeast Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota home. Basically, we ranched for the most part until I was 14 in Montana, and we summer pastured our cattle over in Wyoming, yet we did all of our business in South Dakota. So whether it was banking or grocery shopping, we were there. So I call the tri-state area home. When we were 14, we actually downsized from the ranch in Montana where we were running 1,000 head of sheep and 500 head of cattle to a smaller ranch in South Dakota. And there I ended up going to high school at Newell High School. And that's in South Dakota. That's where I did graduate from.
And how many people were in your graduating class?
Well, in 8th grade, this is when I was still in Montana, there were 2 of us, Rory and I. And then when I graduated high school, moving to the big metropolis outside of Newell, there were 36 of us who graduated high school together.
You were one of the very few people that have me beat on those numbers. I had 4 in 8th grade and 63 in high school. So there's very few people that can beat me, but she's one of them.
Yes. Yep. And 2 of my closest friends did come from that class, and then found another 2 afterwards, so, which you were one of those 4.
Yay. So after you moved to South Dakota, you were in Newell. Tell me about some of your extracurricular activities.
Well, I did start 4-H when I was 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I started with the Sheep and Cattle Project, and then I added horses and a ton of other things. And then I was also an FFA all throughout high school. However, at the age of 13, I started doing rodeo queen pageants. And I happened to win my first title when I was 14, and it was the Newell Labor Day Rodeo Queen Pageant. So not only was I the new girl in the entire high school, but I also won the Rodeo Queen Pageant. So apparently I like to be the center of attention some days. So I got to know a lot of people fast because they're like, oh, she's also our rodeo queen.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, 4-H, rodeo, FFA, those are huge parts of my background. And I was the football manager for 3 years for our high school team too.
Mm-hmm. And we actually did Rodeo Queen together. And it's funny, looking back, we met in our early 20s. We'd actually competed against each other. When we look back at photographs, we see ourselves in the same photos, but we didn't really connect when we were competing. Right. We were stiff competition.
In high school, we both competed in 4-H.
Yep.
And at the state pageant, because we came from different districts, That's where the large pageant was held, 14 to 20 girls, just depending. And yeah, we didn't know each other then. But then when we did meet, it was actually at another Rodeo Queen function where we were having the NFR send-off party and trunk show for one of our Miss Rodeo South Dakotas. And I happened to in the line with Jill, and we struck up a conversation.
Yep. And the rest, they say, is history. Tell me about then your involvement in the Miss Rodeo South Dakota organization.
I did actually compete for several years trying to win the title. I finished as first runner-up one year on our actually largest pageant. We had, I think, 8 girls competing that year, and I was first runner-up. And then after that queen, Bobby Jo Anderson, asked me to help her with a fundraiser, because at that point in time, I had been involved with print media, so designing and paginating and getting things to print. And she'd come up with a fundraiser idea and asked for my help, and I agreed. And then the board actually approached me to join the board. They said, if you're done competing, which at that time I still had 2 more years of eligibility age-wise, they said, if you're done competing, we would love to have you on the board. If you want to run for the pageant 1 more year, we totally understand that too. And I decided to join the board. And I ended up serving on the board for about 8 years. 3 of it were as a board member or secretary. And then the last 3 years, I actually was the president of the pageant board, which means I helped coordinate the entire state pageant. And this was in my early to mid 20s that I was doing this. And I also went to the Miss Rodeo America pageant as a liaison from South Dakota, and of course, to support our queen.
So how did that lead into what you decided to do next?
Well, while I was working at the newspaper, so I actually started designing websites in 1999. I learned how to code on dial-up in HTML, and I was certified through the local vocational college that I could do websites. And then I was hired by a Native American newspaper to design their website, and got thrown into actually helping paginate, which means put the newspaper together so it could go to press on a weekly basis. And I spent about 6 months there learning a ton of different things. And then I actually found out that there was an assistant editor position at Tri-State Livestock News, which is a large regional publication that's still going today. And I was hired as the assistant editor there. And at that time, that's when I was approached to join the Miss Rodeo South Dakota board and help Bobby Jo with her fundraiser. And so while there at the newspaper, I helped with a little bit of everything. Mainly, I was the assistant editor. So that means I coordinated all the writers. I also wrote articles, and I got to help choose cover photos or take the cover photos. And it's kind of funny. The first day I started, 2 things that stick out in my mind from that time, which at that point in time I was about 21 years old, 21, 22, somewhere in there. Number one, when I showed up, that week's newspaper talked about an 8-year-old heifer that had triplets. And I knew why they hired me, because there's no such thing as an 8-year-old heifer. She was definitely a cow. And so that was the cut line on the front page. And the second thing that sticks out to me that day is I had to ask the publisher how to turn my Mac computer on. I was a PC person until that point. So, I was like, okay, how do I turn this computer on?
And for those that you don't know that didn't grow up on a ranch, the difference between a heifer, usually you call it a first calf heifer, and a cow that's had a calf or had its first baby then becomes a cow. So for those of us in the ranching industry, that would have been a humongous faux pas.
Yes, it was definitely something I'm like, I know why you hired me.
Yes, you need somebody that knows what's going on. Tell me about your next big leap.
Well, while at Tri-State Livestock News, we got bought out by a different company, and there were a lot of changes. I found out later that my job was actually safe, but with everything that was going on, I had decided I either needed to go back to college and finish my degree, or I needed to start a publication. And so I was originally thinking of moving to Colorado, had done some market research. There was a corridor area that definitely could have benefited from a weekly newspaper. And in the interim, upstairs, one of our rock star sales reps who literally can sell ice to Eskimos, Deb Black, was talking about starting a publication. And this one happened to be a horse publication, which with my background of rodeoing and growing up on a ranch and training horses fit well. And so I went up, she called me up to her office and said, hey, I'm thinking about starting a publication. And I was like, oh yeah, me too. She goes, well, I can do sales, but I can't do anything, can't do the rest of it. And I said, well, I can do everything else, but I can't do sales. And so we talked about this in April. Let's see, I turned 23 in March. We talked about this in April. We quit our jobs in May, and we had our first publication of Today's Horse magazine out July 1st, 2002.
Wow. That was a big transition.
It was, yeah. Going from being an employee who worked 40 hours a week at the newspaper, plus bartending on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and honestly making more money those 3 days than the rest of the week. You know, it was a big change going from working, you know, a lot of hours. I still worked a lot of hours, but instead of relying on somebody else for a paycheck, we had to hustle and make it happen.
I call that, you have to hunt for your own food.
Yes, we definitely did. You know, we started without a loan. We tried to get an SBA loan. It didn't work out. And, you know, going into it, my mindset was, well, the worst thing that can happen is we go bankrupt. Now, that was a lot different because I was only 23. Deb was twice my age, so she had a lot more
on the line
for it. But we set the business up as a C corporation, according to, after talking to our lawyer and CPA. And so we were able to protect our personal assets in case anything did go south. You know, we could.
So you consulted the experts.
We did consult the experts. You know, I think now I honestly wish we would have consulted 3 different experts on how we should have set it up. And I'm a big proponent of that. Whether you're getting an estimate from me or from somebody else, get 3 opinions before you make a final decision.
Yes. From there, how long did you have the magazine?
Deb and I actually owned the magazine until 2006. We happened to sell it 2 days prior to my wedding.
Okay.
And at this point in time, I was living in Iowa and had ran the magazine remote for 6 months. And then I ran it for another 6 months for the new owners. The very cool part about it is the magazine is still going today under new ownership.
Oh, awesome.
So they've been in business now 16 years and still going strong.
And that's quite a feat in the publishing industry this day and age.
Yes. We started right after 9/11 and a lot of business got hurt. A lot of publications downsized with the advent of the internet, really becoming, you know, when it's in your hand and you can access it on the go, you know, media, especially print media, definitely took a hit.
Yeah. And so tell me about transitioning from being a single businesswoman into being married and taking all of that on, and how you transitioned.
So I happened to meet my husband online.
Okay.
He was going to college at South Dakota School of Mines and Technology, and we actually figured out for at least 2 years, if not longer, we'd only been about 6 blocks apart. However, we happened to meet on Match.com, and this was the second time I'd used Match, and this time I was like, you know what? Hey, I'm 28. Maybe if I'm actually going to have a family, I should kind of start thinking about it. And so, but I was working. I mean, head buried in work. So online dating was a thing. And so I decided to try it, but I had set very clear intentions. My only physical requirement was that he's taller than me, which he is. Okay. And then the other intentions I set, which honestly, I'm amazed that I found it, was somebody with a similar background. So somebody who grew up on a farm and ranch, agricultural type experience, knew what I went through growing up. And I also knew I didn't want a rodeo cowboy. So they may be cute to look at, but there's a lot of other things we can talk about at a later time.
There's more stories there.
So I also wanted to make sure that whomever I did choose as a life partner, one, obviously I wanted to make sure I fell in love with them, but that they had a future, that they were going places. I didn't care if we were going back to the ranch. That was fine with me, but I wanted them to have a good head on their shoulders and have a plan. And I met Simon.
How many years later till you were married?
We ended up dating long distance for 19 months because on our first date, I already knew that he was recruited to a big company in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He's a software engineer. And so I knew he was moving. And so we had 6 weeks of dating in Rapid City, and we decided we wanted to try the long distance thing. And so we dated long distance for 19 months. We got engaged in August of 2006. And then I moved out to Iowa December 31st, 2007. 6 months before we got married, we wanted to make sure living in the same town that we were actually compatible instead of every 2 weeks that we saw each other.
That's probably a good thing.
And so, then we were married May 31st of 2008.
And with that, we're going to take a quick break for our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Standout Pro, teaching you how to stand out and get more clients using LinkedIn. Get your free gift at standoutpro.com.
Welcome back. We're back here with Nikole Haumont and my fabulous co-host here for the Time to Fly podcast. So, tell us about your little boy.
Well, Lincoln is our son. He is now 6, and he joined our family. Thankfully, we are very blessed to have him March 19th of 2012. Mm-hmm. And with having a child comes a huge shift in perspective and what you want to do, how you want your life to be. Simon and I both grew up with our parents close by quite often, or our grandparents. You know, if we weren't tagging along with mom and dad, we were tagging along with our grandparents. And we knew that one of us wanted to stay at home with him. And my husband has 2 engineering degrees and the big job with all the health benefits and all of that. And at that time I was working at GoDaddy, helping, you know, clients learn how to navigate the wild, wild west of the internet. And so
were you on one of the top teams there?
Yes. When I left GoDaddy, I was actually on the #1 team in the company. It was in Iowa, and we competed against Arizona, so I was against both. And yeah, I was helping with SSLs, which is your secure socket layer, which makes your website secure, and hosted Exchange email. So I got a lot of panicked calls when people would be like, my email's not working or my website's down. And
so you got a lot of knowledge on the back end of websites and what really not to do. And tell me, like, you had mentioned once that you really felt bad about the people who would get scammed off of people.
Yeah. I don't know how many phone calls I would take that we're locked out of our website. We don't have access to this. We paid this person $10,000 to redo our website, and they dropped off the face of the earth. And that's just not right. That's not how you do business.
And that's not the code of the West.
No. You know, I prefer to try to do a handshake. I mean, I do have a contract that you sign, but the contract just says I agree to pay my bill on a monthly basis. And if I want to leave your services,
I just let you know.
Let me know.
Yep.
No harm, no foul, whether you're with me for 1 month or 10 years. I learned a lot also about WordPress during that time, because we'd have rollover calls, and instead of being like, well, that's not my department, I'd be like, let's figure this out. And so now I design in WordPress. It's an awesome platform once you get everything figured out on it. So
tell me about transitioning from being the business owner of just yourself to worry about, and now you have your own companies. You have Shield Bar Marketing, you have Standout Pro.
Yep.
Tell me how it's been to have your businesses and juggle being kind of the mompreneur, the entrepreneur, the wife, the mother, how you juggle all that.
Well, one of the things I've learned is to say no.
Okay.
There's a lot of extra stuff out there that you just don't need to do. You have to make sure, to me, my husband and my son come first, and my business does come second. And Simon and I have a very good schedule. I work around Lincoln's schedule. You know, he's in Taekwondo now, he's in hip hop, and he's in school now 6 to 7 hours a day, which makes a huge difference. And I'm actually adding more projects because of that. But I know that Sunday night, Tuesday night, and Thursday night, I am responsible for putting Lincoln to bed. And then the Saturday night's kind of up for grabs. It just depends. The rest of the nights, Simon puts Lincoln to bed. So I know that I will have 2 to 3 hours of time there if I need it that I didn't get done between activities. And I deliberately built a business that, for the most part, I can run from my phone. Now, yes, designing the original website, I do need access to an actual computer, but as long as I have internet, whether it's here or at the clubhouse where we have a lot of our activities, I can work.
You can work from anywhere.
Yes.
And you've built a business that works for you.
Yes. I don't work more than 20 hours a week if I can help it. If I don't feel I can meet a client's needs or expectations, I tell them no. And the biggest part for me too is I learned and started building it. I have residual income. My clients pay me every single month to have their website hosted. And I really like to be able to help other moms and stay-at-home parents and other people who want to start a business figure out how you can make money on a monthly basis, whether you do 10 minutes of work or more for that client.
And that's kind of how we kind of work together well, is for me being the big picture, the visionary, right? Figuring it out. If you're stuck, what works for you, what's in alignment for you. And then what you have is like, you're the get it done girl, the implementation, the systems, the email list, the social media, the different things of putting that in, implementing it. So that's, I think, how we work together really well. So we've been talking about doing this podcast for probably a little over a year. And it seems that it's worked out the best right now as Lincoln is in its first year of school.
Yes.
We're both in a growth phase of our businesses. And what is it that you really want to contribute to our listeners as we move forward in this journey of launching a weekly podcast?
There's two things. First of all, like I said, it's okay to say no. If a project doesn't feel right, or, it's just not your cup of tea, it is okay to say no. You have to protect your time. That's the only thing we're not going to get back. And I'm not going to get back the years of Lincoln from age 0 to 6. We have time going forward. So definitely say no if you need to. The second thing is, and I really like to help people. And I feel if I can help you promote your business and get your ideas off the ground and provide an economical, professional presence from logos to websites and everything in between, that's going to help our greater community. I have a son now. I need to be thinking about his future. And if we're blessed with grandchildren, their future. And by helping everybody create more income, that's a way to do that. And so, yes, my business creates income for me, but I also help other people reach their dreams.
And create impact, influence, and income, which is our mission. And one of the reasons that we're doing this is to help others do that.
Yeah, besides educating and entertaining, we do want to help everybody do that. Whether it's us two talking or the people the other entrepreneurs and business professionals that we're bringing on to interview, we really hope that it helps inspire you with one thing every week to take action on.
A nugget to take away, to apply to your life, to your business, to your career. What are some of the things that you're excited about? Because we're going to be sharing some of our knowledge and our wisdom as we move forward. Who are you excited to interview? Because we're going to be bringing experts on as well, so that we're learning with you. We want to interview people, and we have our perspectives, and we want to bring other successful business owners and professionals on to get information on their expertise as well. So what are some of your things that you're excited about there?
Well, earlier this year, I hired a couple business coaches, and they're a business coach, actually 2 business coaches together. They do it together, and they help people monetize their knowledge. And so that's where Standout Pro was developed. It's actually me teaching you client acquisition using LinkedIn and how to network. And I want to bring these 2 ladies on individually because they both have amazing stories and amazing backgrounds and different perspectives, and have them share their journey with all of our listeners because they do have a ton of knowledge. And I hired them, so I've been through their process, and I respect what they do. So being able to get into their backgrounds and their futures a little bit definitely would help. And it's one of those things, the more people we can bring on that have been there, done that, the more faster, better, easier everybody else can get where they're going. Success does leave clues.
Yes.
You just got to go out and look for them.
Absolutely. So is there anything else, Nikole, you'd like to share before we wrap this up?
The biggest thing is do one thing a day that's going to move you closer to your goal, but also give yourself time off. Saturday and Sunday, I don't do much for business-wise. It's family time to me. Create a schedule that works for you and your family.
And with that, we hope that we continue to help give your business wings.
A big thank you to this episode's sponsor, Standout Pro. Be sure to get your free gift at standoutpro.com.
Join our flock. Stay informed of all things Time to Fly by subscribing to our newsletter at timetoflypodcast.com. And be sure to tune in to our next show.